ranking the top 10 most expensive signings so far in the transfer window. That is what we'll be doing today, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Player Zone channel. A heavy Premier League dominated list to come here, but I'll be ranking, as I said, the top 10 most expensive transfers so far in the transfer window. Those that have been here we go or confirmed by the club. A lot of big names, a lot of big money being spent. You know, the lowest 10th being over 60 million euros. So some big signings already in this transfer window, and I think some massive more to come as the window extends. But let's get straight into it. Right at the bottom, Anthony Elanga in 10th place with 61 million euros. Coming off the 6 goals and 12 assists last season, really made his name at Nottingham Forest last year, looking like the complete footballer. Someone who had a final product in the final third. And that for me was the biggest jump for him last season. Big move to Newcastle United for 61 million euros. I've gone and ranked it an A-. I think a perfect signing for the football club in terms of they now have dominant players on both sides of Alexander Isak. Bit of a connection there with Isak and Elanga. And I think what he proved to us last season with that delivery and those assist numbers, 12 last year, shows that he can provide for a striker like Alexander Isak, where Gordon's a little bit more direct at times. Jacob Murphy last season was fantastic, but can he do that again? I just don't know if he can do that. You got him here, Anthony Elanga, as a speedy right-sided player, someone who can track back and defend as well, and adds another threat in the counter-attack alongside Alexander Isak. It's a front three now that looks very complete, very speedy, and it just matches the theme of the side, getting in Anthony Elanga. So, look, it's a fantastic signing. I've gone with an A- just because I think 55 to 50 would have been a perfect price range for me. But look, great work for Newcastle United, getting it done early in the window, getting him a pre-season under the belt of the football club. I think it's a great deal. An A- for me for Anthony Elanga. Next up is Dean Huijsen, who moves from Bournemouth to the big Galacticos in Real Madrid for 63 million euros. And I've gone and given this the A++. The highest score you can possibly get, because this for me, as well as being a personal favourite of mine, he is a perfect fit for Real Madrid Football Club. Very, very young, 20 years of age, has played at Roma, has been a part of Juventus side. He knows the big club mentality. He's obviously featured for Spain most recently in the Nations League, playing amongst some of the game's best right now in world football. 3 goals and 2 assists last season, scoring some big goals at Old Trafford against Tottenham and the like as well. Was a part of 7 clean sheets, 1.6 interceptions per game. For me, though, the big stats, 3.3 ball recoveries and 6.1 clearances. He will be the stalwart. He will be the centre-half for Real Madrid for 10 to 12 years into the future. A signing for now, but also signing into the future. And for Real Madrid, they just need fit and healthy defenders, and the young defender has shown the ability to be available, has shown his consistency throughout the year with Bournemouth, and shown he can play on the ball as well as being that sort of last line of defence as well. He's shown so many skills and tools to his game that it's a perfect addition for Real Madrid. 63 million, I think, is absolutely under this guy. He'll be worth 110, 120 million euros, I think, in the years to come. This guy will just get better and better. And I always say the Spanish player going back to Spain is the ideal combination. He will be, I think, the cornerstone to what Xabi Alonso builds at Real Madrid across the next few seasons. And if they're going to be successful, he's going to be pivotal to that. So I've gone and given him the A++, Dean Huijsen. A fantastic signing for Real Madrid. Next up is João Pedro. Obviously made a few TikToks about this guy. He's been fantastic. I've rated him number 2 in the list, but I've gone and just given it a flat A. In going back and thinking about it properly, it is a fantastic signing. It's probably just an A just because he's won back more money than what he was worth in the deal. They're winning that Club World Cup. 10 goals and 7 assists last season. He's the complete forward in many regards. Can work in a combination. Can play in the 10. Can play as a front 2. Can play alone as the sole number 9. He has versatility to his game. He can drift out wide. And then most importantly for me for Chelsea is he can link the game up but also be a goal threat. I think Chelsea across the last few strikers they've either been poor in front of goal or struggled in the build-up play. And I think what he'll do, João Pedro, is really work off Cole Palmer. They'll work as a combination like Danny Welbeck and João Pedro worked across the last sort of 7 to 8 months at Brighton and Hove Albion. So, I think it'll fit their system really, really well. A proper finisher in the final third. Someone they'll get so much more chances and opportunities in the final third than what he did last season at Brighton. And yes, there was that stat about, I think, 7 penalties scored for Brighton out of his 10 goals. but I think he'll look to try and get that 12, 15 goal mark this season, just because there'll be more delivery into the box, there'll be more chances for him, and him working off João Pedro working off Cole Palmer as a bit of a 1-2 punch. I think both their output will go up tenfold because they're going to be so good together. We saw what they did at the Club World Cup and some of the build-up play and some of the finishes they created for each other. I think they'll be fantastic. As I've gone with an A for João Pedro, it's the hole that Chelsea were missing, the play they needed. And look, Delap is a good signing, but I think João Pedro is that next level, a more complete footballer. He's gone through the English system, being the Championship with Watford, and got his big move to Brighton. And he's proved on the Premier League stage now joining a big club like Chelsea. I think it's a great pickup for Chelsea. A Premier League proven centre forward for 64 million euros, a great deal for me. So I've gone with an A for João Pedro. Next up is Mohamed Kudus for 64 million from West Ham to Tottenham. A lot of into Premier League transfers here. Had a tough year last time around. 5 goals and 4 assists in a very bad West Ham United side. Played up front alongside Jared Bowman at times, did play out right in his more natural position, sometimes in behind the centre forward, playing in the number 10 spot. So he had a troubled season last year, inconsistent positioning, an inconsistent side, a really poor side, and inconsistent management as well. This time around, he comes into a fresh system under Thomas Frank. He'll be play in position on the right-hand side there with great players like Dominic Solanke, potentially Morgan Gibbs-White, Heung-min Son, Brennan Johnson, all in up top there, creating opportunity, a more solid, consistent side that's better in possession. I think that boosts Mohamed Kudus' ability. I think he adds a piece that Tottenham Hotspur desperately need. It's a bit of added speed, added skillfulness on the football. We saw in that first pre-season game that ridiculous piece of skill to get past 2 defenders on the touchline there. I think he'll be a fantastic signing for them. I'm just worried about how he fits in the Thomas Frank system in terms of accountability defensively. He's been known to lose his cool, not be accountable defensively in the past. That is at West Ham United, a smaller club, a club that struggles a bit more, won't be on the ball as much. So maybe that can be made up for with Tottenham on the ball a bit more often, and he'll drive the ball forward more often. He'll get more opportunities to be more encouraged to go back and defend. But that's the one thing that for me is taking this down from an A+ to an A-, just because there's a lot of unknown with his consistency and his ability to work in a Thomas Frank type system. But on paper, it's exactly what they needed. Brennan Johnson is a great player, but not the complete product. Mohamed Kudus, through his last 18 months in the Premier League, has shown his best is exactly what Tottenham Hotspur need. A consistent goal threat and someone who can deliver balls into the box for Dominic Solanke to really find his feet at Tottenham Hotspur. So for me, Mohamed Kudus is an A-. It's that question mark about his consistency in terms of tracking back, which just takes it down from that A+ level to an A-. Next up, another Chelsea signing, Jamie Gittins coming from Borussia Dortmund into the Premier League to join Chelsea. I've gone with a B because this is 64 million euros, a lot of money for Jamie Gittins, a player that showed a lot of promise last season, 12 goals and 3 assists. A lot of that great sort of bright spark came in the first half of the year, and as the year went on, they went to a more Adeyemi and sort of Julian Brandt front line, with Maximilian Bayer joining in as well. So he sort of got phased out the season went on. Don't get me wrong, a fantastic talent, a real danger in possession on the football, skips past defenders at ease. But we've seen this a lot with, a Jadon Sancho as a direct replica, an English talent in the Bundesliga, putting defenders on their bums and being really, really good in the football, but then coming across and not quite translating to the more physical, increased speed of the Premier League. I don't know if we've seen enough of Jamie Gittins yet to put full faith in him to be that starter for Chelsea. And don't get me wrong, I don't think he's bought to be the starter quite yet. I think it's more of a project player. But when you've got players like João Pedro, when you've got players like Cole Palmer, and at times Enzo Fernandez, he's going to be forced out to the left-hand side as well. He'll have time to get to grips with the league. I think he's a fantastic player. I'm just worried about how he's going to adjust to the Premier League, and is his game style going to work? Because we saw him absolutely break onto the scene, burst on the scene at the start of the season when Dortmund were doing poorly. And when they started to turn it around, he wasn't really a part of that starting 11. A great talent. I just don't know yet what he will bring in the Premier League. I've gone with a B for Jamie Gittins. I think 64 million is a little bit steep, and the unknown with him is much greater than a lot of these players in this list. As such, for me, a B for Jamie Gittins joining Chelsea. Next up, another into Premier League transfer. Bryan Mbeumo joining Manchester United for 70 million euros from Brentford. A Prem-proven player, someone who can do it in the big stage. I've gone with an A- for him. Again, you go back to that 62 million, which Manchester United bought, initially sort of bidded for him. It's probably the A+, but a little bit of overspend there. And again, how he's going to work in this new system, not playing out wide, playing as a second number 10 in behind a centre forward. Or will he be forced to play up top for Manchester United this season? We'll have to wait and see. But he's up there in the A- category just because Manchester United need goals, they need chance creation, and that's what Bryan Mbeumo is going to bring. 20 goals and 8 assists last season for a very, very entertaining Brentford side. Don't get me wrong, struggled from the penalty spot at times, had some games where he drifted out of the game and not more heavily involved. I think more impressive last season than Johan Visser's performances, but don't get me wrong, Bryan Mbeumo has been fantastic across the last 18 months, showing he can do it without Ivan Toney there as well. And being that Premier League proven talent, Manchester United desperately had to get someone like him on board, and they got him on board. It's going to benefit Joshua Zirkzee. It's going to benefit Matheus Cunha. It's going to benefit Bruno Fernandes, having someone else who can play on the football, who can create for themselves, and most importantly, take some defenders away from the likes of Bruno Fernandes, Matheus Cunha, and open up spaces for others in the final third. If you've got Bruno Fernandes, if you've got Bryan Mbeumo, Matheus Cunha, Joshua Zirkzee as a front line, all of a sudden, Bruno Fernandes isn't getting 3 or 4 players thrown at him. You have to spread your load, you have to spread the defence, and he might not get the exact same numbers that he did last season, but his impact on Manchester United may be greater. So that's why I've gone with an A- for Bryan Mbeumo. Very excited to see what he can do this season at Manchester United. Next up is Zubimendi joining Arsenal from Real Sociedad for 70 million euros. And look, a lot of clubs are in for him. Real Madrid, Liverpool in the past. Arsenal finally got him on board. The perfect replacement, I think, for the side. But 70 million for me is a little bit steep. He had 61 touches, 2.1 tackles and 1.2 interceptions on average per game last season for Real Sociedad, a team that heavily underperformed in La Liga. As such, I'm going with a B. Maybe one of the harsher ratings. I'm really sceptical on this Martin Zubimendi signing. This is an Arsenal side that needs to win now, and I think he's got to improve the side, but I don't think it's going to live up to the 70 million euro transfer fee or the hype that Arsenal fans are going to put on this midfielder. I think he's going to need help from Declan Rice back there as more of a double pivot rather than Declan Rice being a solo number 8. I think it'll have to be a double pivot there initially until Martin Zubimendi gets in, I guess, control of that midfield area, adjust the Premier League physicality and speed. I love the signing in terms of on the ball, more ball playing in that midfield area, better on the ball than Thomas Partey, can deal with the press better than Thomas Partey and can play out of those areas much better. But defensively, I still rather Thomas Partey as a footballer, not the person. Like, we'll take that aside. But look, I'm still really, very sceptical. Price tag, adjusting to the Premier League in terms of that defensive number 6, it doesn't quite happen like that. You can't just click your fingers and it'll work. Caicedo had his moment to sort of build in. Ryan Gravenberch had to refine the role to get going. These new sort of midfielders don't just hit the ground running from day one, coming from a different league into the Premier League. Manuel Ugarte really struggled at Manchester United. So it's going to take time. And I think initially, because Arsenal need to win now, I'm going to go with a B, because I think he'll be a good player for the future, but this season it might just be a little bit too much for Martin Zubimendi to handle. Coming up now to the big 3. In third place is Matheus Cunha, 74 million euros for the Brazilian, joining Manchester United from Wolves, another inter-Premier League signing. I've also gone with an A for Matheus Cunha. 17 goals, 6 assists. He kept Wolves safe on his own in many regards. Some of the goals and the style and the type of goals he was scoring was out of this world, directly from corners, long-range screamers, top corner type stuff. He had a real show-out type season. He put his name well and truly on the map. And look, 74 million euros, I think, is in the end quite reasonable. That's why I've gone with an A for Matheus Cunha. And an A because he fits this team so well. He will be the perfect player to pair up with an Amad Diallo, with a Bruno Fernandes, with a Bryan Mbeumo as a second number 10 in behind a central centre forward there. You get anyone of any sort of quality up front for Manchester United. If Zirkzee or Højlund can turn to that player, or Benjamin Sesko, or somehow Victor Gyökeres ends up at Old Trafford, he will flourish. And it won't be the 17 goals like he scored last season. It might only be 10, but he'll be getting 10, 12 type assists because he'll get a lot of attention. He'll feed the ball off. He is quite smart in possession. He's got that Brazilian flair, comfortable on the football. Bruno Fernandes will be thanking his lucky stars. He's got Matheus Cunha there with him. We saw in that first pre-season game, to spread the play well. He was demanding of his players. I think he's the perfect player for Manchester United and to guide this team back. It is going to be a long old project, 5 years plus. But he, alongside Bruno Fernandes, Amad Diallo, that is your future there. You build around those players, Heaven, Yoro, and I think he's here for the long haul. I think going forward, improving this side year on year, he's the perfect player for that. He's a demanding player. He wants the best, and as such, I've gone with an A for Matheus Cunha. Second place, this one is recently be here we go by Fabrizio Romano, is Hugo Ekitike, joining Liverpool for an outlandish 95 million euros. What a season last year for Eintracht Frankfurt. 22 goals, 12 assists. Was fantastic in a double alongside Omar Marmoush when he was there. When Marmoush left for City in January, he then took the load on and did a fantastic job. Had a fabulous season in the Bundesliga. I have gone with a B+ though. 95 million euros is a lot of money. And don't get me wrong, this current economy, that's what strikers are going to go for, realistically, unless they force their way out the door. Hugo Ekitike wasn't doing a Victor Gyökeres. He wasn't really forcing his way out. But 95 million euros is very steep. I love the player. I've been raving about him now probably for the last 12 or 15 months. Really like what he was doing. That builder striker, they put that outlandish 125 million euro bid in for Alexander Isak. It's a very similar build, the closest you probably get in world football. Speedy, quite strong physically, very, very tall, that sort of lankier build. And it's hard to come by those type of players. And we've seen what Alexander Isak has done. He arrived in the Premier League and has made a name for himself as probably the best, if not second best striker in the Premier League. When you've got players like Erling Haaland going around, when you've got these big money signings coming into the league like Højlund and Nunez, there's been a lot of pressure on strikers and a lot of them have failed. But Alexander Isak succeeded, and they're hoping that Hugo Ekitike can succeed as well. Look, the price tag will put pressure on the player, but the pressure will be taken off because you've got great players around you. Florian Wirtz operating in behind you. Mohamed Salah on your right-hand side there. You've got Jeremy Frimpong pushing on. A lot of players that have played in the Bundesliga as well in this side. On the left, Cody Gakpo, Luis Diaz potentially as well. Maybe Rodrigo joins as well come the end of the window. So you've got a lot of attacking talent around you. All you do is put the ball in the back of the net. That's something that they couldn't rely on Darwin Núñez for. Hugo Ekitike will definitely do that. Some of the goal, cast he had last season for Eintracht Frankfurt, doing great jobs in the counter-attack, being that direct long ball to hold the ball up and allow Omar Marmoush and the like to catch up and build out as the side played quite direct. He was a great player to get in behind, to use his speed, to use his physicality, can score from set pieces as he's quite a tall player as well. He's got different avenues to goal, and I think he'll be a fantastic pickup for Liverpool. But I've gone with a B+ just because it's so steep, and again, he's so young. We just don't know how he's going to adjust the Premier League. So a B+ for Hugo Ekitike. And then number one, Florian Wirtz, 125 million euros. You would have seen the TikTok clip by now. I've gone with an A for that reason. It's a lot of money. He will never live up to 125 million euros. As such, he just can't be an A+. But in terms of the signing and what Liverpool needed, Szoboszlai, a fantastic player, great presser, great without the football, not too bad on it as well. But Florian Wirtz on the football, next level. I have him personally above Jamal Musiala. I loved his work the last 2 seasons. 67 goal contributions across the last 2 seasons. He impacts games in so many different ways. In pockets, scoring goals, driving past defenders. Some of the goals he was scoring towards the back end of that title run, just taking 3 or 4 defenders on, skipping past them and finding and passing the ball into the back of the net. He is unbelievable and probably, quite rightly the most expensive player in this summer transfer window because of the way he is in the football, because of the way he commands space. He's good in tight areas. He can spread the play with his passing. Again, not the quickest player, but always seems like he's never in trouble because of how cool and calm he is in possession. So I think this is a fantastic signing for Liverpool. The price tag is obviously outlandish, and that's why for me it can't be an A+. It has to be an A. But I think when you look at the market and players that could have been available, probably one of, if not the best that could be available to buy, and Liverpool have gone and got him. A title-winning side that was competing on 4 fronts for most of the year goes and adds a player like Florian Wirtz. Instantly they become, number one again this season. And There's been reports about how well he's been training for this Liverpool side. I think about the players now they've built in that front line. Gakpo, Diaz, Ekitike, Salah, Wirtz, Szoboszlai as a backup. There is so much talent in this side here. He will flourish. He will just love the support of the likes of Mohamed Salah on the right-hand side. He's got his teammate in Jeremy Frimpong pushing on as well. Milos Kerkez can cover off for him defensively. You've got two great, midfielders in Gravenberch alongside McAllister in behind you, so you don't have to be so accountable defensively. I think it's going to be a fantastic signing. I just think the money, as I said, will be the reason why he's not an A+ for me, but I've gone with an A for Florian Wirtz there. And there we go. There's the top 10. Just rattling them off one more time for you guys at home. Elanga, I've gone an A-. Dean Huijsen, an A++. João Pedro, an A for me. Mohamed Kudus, an A-. Jamie Gittins, a B. Brian Mbeumo, A-. Martin Zubimendi, a B. Matheus Cunha, an A. Hugo Ekitike, a B+. And Florian Wirtz, an A for me. There we go. There's my grading on all 10 of the most expensive signings so far in this summer transfer window. Obviously, Victor Gyökeres is here we go very, very soon, I assume. Maybe by the time this video goes up, he's here we go. But as of currently recording this, he has not been here we go at all. Arsenal have not announced him yet. There's still some stalemate stuff there. Rodrigo could be transferred as well. Man United are in for Benjamin Sesko as well. So there's a lot more exciting signings to come. And we'll obviously review that on the podcast as the transfer window comes to an end. But there's my thoughts on the 10 most expensive signings so far in this summer. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with those who'd be interested. And with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you at the video very, very soon. Till next time, guys. See you later.